What's up, guys? We are doing some Porsche maintenance today. We're trying to replace the rear differential fluid as well as the PDK fluid. So I'm going to go over basically the bits and pieces of where the fills and drains are. And because we don't have one of Porsche's PIWIS systems, we're going to have to do the PDK fluid a little bit differently. We're going to have to kind of finagle it to get the right fluid level, but I'll show you how we did it. Basically, we're just trying to get our car ready for the track, so we wanted to change all the fluids because we don't know what the previous owner did or did not do. All right, so when we get under here, we see this guy. This is the fill for the rear differential. And then over here, we have the drain for the rear differential. We have the drain for the PDK. And then moving to the other side, we have the fill for the PDK. So let's get to draining the fluids. All right, so first up, we have the fill for the rear differential open. We have the rear diff draining. Let's see if I can. So it is draining out. We're collecting it in a new pan, and we'll measure how much fluid comes out because there's some discrepancies online as far as how much fluid volume, and I want to put in a similar amount, make sure that we're doing it correctly. All right, we ended up finding a second gear oil, so not the clutch fluid, but gear oil drain, and that got out another about half a quart to 3/4 of a quart after draining that smaller guy. So we ended up loosening that one and getting out a little bit more fluid. We have now measured basically what we got out of the gearbox as well as the clutch fluid, their PDK fluid, so that we can now measure the new fluid and pump in the exact same amount to ensure that we get everything correct. All right, so we ended up pouring the gear oil into a empty canister which has levels on it. So we're at about 2.5 quarts of gear oil, which makes sense. I believe I called up Porsche and they said 3.3 for a dry fill, so it can be assumed that there's about half a quart, and we spilled some when we were draining, so it can be assumed that we're going to put in right around 3 quarts before it should come out. And that's just a double check to ensure that we're doing everything correctly. So let's get to filling it. The drain plugs are in and torqued to factory spec, and then we have the fill open, and we're going to start putting in some gear fluid. All right, as you could see at the end there, fluid was actually coming out. So we quickly put the fill plug in to leave a little bit extra fluid in there, and that's roughly where the fluid level should be. All right, so we are on the other side at this point. We have not started draining the PDK fluid. So I used a jack here to jack up the driver's side, because if you remove the fill plug with the car level, fluid will come out. I'm not sure if it shows up in video very well, but there's fluid just barely sticking out right there. And we know the ambient temperature in the shop. We know the fluid is cold, so we can basically estimate how to fill it at this point. So we're basically going to grab a measurement between a suspension member on this side as well as the passenger side, and then we know when the car is actually full of fluid by using that as a measurement, since we don't have that PIWIS Porsche tool that I was talking about earlier. And I saw this from a forum vendor or forum member, I believe it's on Renlist or Planet 9, and this is how he did it. And so that basically makes the most sense to me as far as how to do it for us as well. All right, so currently we are filling the PDK fluid. That hose is going into the fill, which we then have on a pump pumping out some Pentacin PDK fluid. We have the car jacked up, as you can see, on the driver's side so that we can fill it to the appropriate level. That was verified previously, as far as we can just barely see the fluid level coming out, and now we're going to fill it so that it does the exact same thing. We also know roughly how much fluid we took out because we measured it, so so that's a double check for us, since we can't use the scan tool to do the fill in the OEM type procedure. Just wanted to compare old gear oil to the new gear oil. You can see that that's just, it's see-through because it's paper, but it was quite dirty. So this is 87,000 miles, and then this is the PDK fluid old, and then PDK fluid new. Let's lift it up real quick. So it was definitely dirty. Doesn't necessarily mean it was bad or ready to be changed, but because we're going to track it, we wanted to know that the fluid was new. So I'm glad we changed it overall. I couldn't get for sure definite answer on when PDK or gearbox was supposed to be changed. Some people were saying 120K, others were saying 80K. I don't know. 981 supposedly is 60K. Again, it's just all in the forum. I couldn't find anything specific to the 987, and we don't have a factory service manual, so we wanted to change it because of track car. Alright guys, that concludes this install. We have some more planned for the Porsche 987 as we get it ready for the track. Stay tuned if you want to watch. Subscribe, like us, find us on Facebook, all that stuff. Thanks.